Good morning, everyone, and thank you for taking time today from your busy schedules to join us for the Becoming HIPAA Compliant webinar. Today's webinar, we're going to focus on two areas. One is the Zultys and Zultys becoming HIPAA compliant, where we're at, how we're doing, and the other is how you, the partner, can become HIPAA compliant. We're going to take questions, but questions will be in the form of the MX meeting chat. So if you have a question, go ahead and enter it in the chat session, and at the end, we'll go ahead and do a little Q&A session. So, let's start. HIPAA. HIPAA is an acronym for Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, and it addresses the use and disclosure of an individual's health information or protected health information. And essentially, it protects individually identifiable health information that is transmitted or stored. This HIPAA regulation is overseen by the Department of Health and Human Services, DHHS, and typically medical practices and facilities that are HIPAA compliant may require you, the partner, to enter a business associate agreement as a condition of the sale. Some of you may have already encountered that, where you've gone into a medical opportunity and they've asked you to are you HIPAA compliant and are you in a position to sign a business associate agreement. And just understand one thing: when you do sign a business associate agreement as a business associate, you are stating that you are HIPAA compliant and you agree to abide by all the rules and regulations in that HIPAA dictates and mandates. So your first question may be, well, protected health information, that's things like electronic health records and records that my doctor has, my health record. So how does it apply to the MX? Well, as I said, in the previous slide, it's based on individually identifiable user data. And in the MX, that may be in the form of stored data such as call detail records, voicemail messages, call recordings, instant messages, and faxes. In addition, the MX may transmit call detail records, voicemail messages, instant messages, fax streams and images, call recordings, as well as a voice stream. So this is why you may be asked by these medical customers to engage in HIPAA compliant business associate agreements, because some individually identifiable data may be stored on the MX in the forms of these functions, right? So in terms of Zultys, Zultys has a release 16 in early access now, and we specifically added features and functionalities, security features and functionalities that address HIPAA compliance. Kind of three main areas that we touched. One is password enhancements. We either added or changed functionality with regards to passwords. There are passwords requirements that HIPAA enforces. One is the length, so we have added modified length requirements. We have added the capability so that you can say when a user logs in, they are forced to change their password to a new password. We also enforce that a user cannot use any of the last four combinations of a password. And we also enforce complexity, must include characters, letters, and numbers. So we've modified that area in the MX for compliance. In addition, we've added an area for data retention, which is another HIPAA compliancy area. And this is simply the amount of days that you want to retain sensitive information. And then we've also added an audit log, which gives you a trail of who accessed the system. So you have a complete audit trail in the event that there's any kind of breach or notification or intrusion. You'll be able to track in the audit trail who accessed the system. So these were the actual items that we added in the MX system. And to be perfectly honest with you, the Zultys MX data center, we have a lot of processes and procedures existing in the data center. Some of you, and these are kind of behind the scenes. When you have an instance in the Zultys data center, it's not necessarily things that you see. You just know you're configuring and having an MX system in the Zultys data center. But a lot of work behind the scenes goes into keeping all the instances in the data center secure. Things like physical security. We track who is in and out of the data center, who comes in and out of our cage. We have video surveillance so that if anyone tries to enter the cage, we get an instant video update to know if that person is authorized or not. We have procedures on repairing equipment, removing hard drives, installing. We have reviews of these access logs, equipment repair logs on a monthly basis. In terms of technical security, we do periodic vulnerability testing and identify any potential gaps and address them immediately. We do disaster recovery testing. We have data destruction procedures to ensure that any sensitive data we have in our possession is destructed properly per proper HIPAA guidelines. We have logical access control. We only allow individuals that need to have access to sensitive data. All others are banned or not allowed to access such information. We also have audit controls for these functions so that we can review. In terms of administrative controls that we employ, we do risk analysis and management, meaning we've gone through and we've identified what we think met and did not meet, and we've mitigated all these any potential risks that we determine. We have logical access policies from the administrator level, again, only allowing the people who need to have access to sensitive data access to that data. We have incident report monitoring, formal workforce termination policies, employee HIPAA training, workstation use policies, and secure storage for HIPAA. The data center, I just want to say that the data center is 24/7 monitoring, and we have almost immediate response to any incidents that are flagged. We have sophisticated electronic monitoring systems that alert us to any kind of odd behavior, so we can immediately jump on it and analyze, is this a real threat or a false alarm, and then take all the necessary procedures so that our instances are protected. We have a very robust data backup of all your customer data in the data center. All your media, your database configurations, we keep both in a primary and a secondary data center. They're geographically separated so that we can restore your configuration in the event of some sort of issue back to 7 days worth of your data. So the data center is very secure, it's very robust, and what we've done, all these processes and procedures that we've had in place, we now kind of formalize them from a documentation standpoint so that they meet HIPAA requirement documentation processes. So now we are ready to move forward with our HIPAA audit and have all our processes and procedures audited by an independent third-party firm. So I mentioned business associate agreements. So let's talk a little bit about business associate agreement and how they apply to the different business models that Zultys has, okay? So first model is our Zultys, what we call Zultys Cloud Desk, and this is where you, the partner, make the sale, and then basically Zultys does the installation, the maintenance, the configuration. And in this case, particular case, Zultys is responsible for all HIPAA compliancy for a customer of this type. We would execute a business associate agreement directly with that end user, okay? Then the second type of model is where we have the fully hosted or the wholesale, where you, the partner, have instances in the Zultys data center, but you're responsible for configuration, managing that customer instance. In this case, Zultys, of course, is responsible for all the security of the hosting. It's our data center, and also probably second-level support. If you were to call into tech support and we needed to get into the system to help you diagnose something, then yeah, we're responsible for that second-level support. So in these type of instances, you, the partner, are responsible for entering the business associate agreement directly with that end user. Zultys would execute a business associate agreement with you, the partner, in a subcontractor role to ensure the HIPAA chain of trust. Okay, everyone in the chain has to be HIPAA compliant, so you're claiming to the end user you're HIPAA compliant, following the rules and procedures, and we, as a subcontractor to you, the partner, are stating we will abide by all HIPAA rules and regulations with regards to the instance that we host in our data center. I just want to make a note on Premise MX. There are a number of features that we added in Release 16, the ones I mentioned, that address specific technical safeguards regarding relating to HIPAA compliance. As such, Premise MX systems could be deployed into HIPAA compliant environments, provided, and this is a big provision, that the partner is HIPAA compliant and the partner end user have addressed all HIPAA physical, technical, and administrative safeguards for that site. So just be aware of that if you want to do a Premise MX in HIPAA, that you must fully understand and make accommodation for all administrative, physical, and technical safeguards related to that premise installation site. So let's talk a little bit about schedule. Zultys will announce formal HIPAA compliance concurrent with the Release 16 general availability announcement. I mentioned that next week is our audit. We are having a third-party firm come in and go through all our processes, procedures, and hopefully we will come out with a nice attestation letter that says an independent firm has tested and confirmed that all Zultys complies with all requirements of HIPAA. So in addition, for the installations that are fully hosted or green label, we will have a detailed configuration document to show you what fields need to be enabled and configured so that the MX system can meet HIPAA compliance. We'll have a very detailed configuration document available at GA at the launch. So one of the reasons we're here is really for you, because we believe that becoming HIPAA compliant as a partner can deliver unique benefits to you, right? And one in the sales cycle is if you're going after a HIPAA compliant opportunity, you could immediately eliminate all non-HIPAA compliant competitors. So if the end user requires HIPAA compliance, that may limit the amount of competitors you have bidding for that opportunity with you. And secondly, which I think this one is really important, you get to speak as a subject matter expert during that sales engagement process. When you become HIPAA compliant and you understand the physical, technical, and administrative safeguards, you will have a really good sales engagement talking with a potential security or privacy officer of your opportunity. And you'll be able to come across as a subject matter expert and really show and demonstrate that we understand HIPAA and we know what it takes and here's how we can do it. So it's really powerful for you. And then the third, and probably the most intriguing, is maybe it's a new market for you. Maybe you haven't gone after these HIPAA compliant environments. And I will tell you that in these types of environments that there's always a list of the customer requirements in priority, right? The features, does the system do what I need it to do? Does it scale to what I need it to do? And what is the cost? Typically, in these type of medical environments with HIPAA compliance, price isn't a factor. Don't get me wrong. Price is always a factor in any sale, but it doesn't tend to rank like number 1 or 2. Security, features, and other sales items that you have in your pocket with a Zultys MX system may rank higher than actual cost, which could translate into higher margin on these type of opportunities for you, which is always a good thing. So, hopefully you're intrigued, and your first question would be, well, how do I become HIPAA compliant? You may have heard it's a long process. It's very expensive. It takes a lot of time. We're running our business. We're a small company. I don't have time for this. It's intriguing. Well, let me tell you, the second part of our webinar, we're very pleased to have with us Lee Loftus from Digital Compliance. Digital Compliance is a company that has 18 years of experience helping and assisting companies become HIPAA compliant with self-certification efforts. And one of the things that is very important and should be important to you is that their mission is to make HIPAA training and compliance fast, easy, and painless, which is probably a big concern of yours because, you may be a small company and you're worried about time. So we're very, at this point, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Lee. And Lee Loftus of Digital Compliance, welcome.
Thank you, Charles, and thanks to Zultys for having us here. It's certainly my pleasure to be here today. So we'll just quickly walk through this HIPAA compliance and training, what it is, and how you do it, who you involve, and so forth. And Charles has done an outstanding job kind of showing what an implementation looks like. So that's what we facilitate, is hitting all those points and trying to make it as easy and cost effective for the user of our products as possible. Charles mentioned that HIPAA is the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. It's a federal law, and it is the primary regulation of the U.S. healthcare system. So it's aimed at both protecting privacy and security of protected health information, PHI, and also recognizing certain inherent rights that individuals have to their own information. And in that vein, HIPAA consists of two separate, distinct regulations. It's obviously, like any regulation, pretty complicated, but the two salient areas are the privacy, which is the actual information associated with an individual, and as we said, PHI, and security, which is the electronic form of that PHI. So text messages, anything from text messages, after-hour call center support, chats, emails, any form and of course as well as electronic forms, any form that PHI might take in electronics. So HIPAA is important for a number of reasons, and Charles touched on these in his presentation. First of all, it's a federal law, and it requires everyone who works in the healthcare industry to be compliant with it. The upshot of that is that the penalties for noncompliance can be very severe, and to a smaller business maybe to the point of putting you out of business. And then on the other side, the carrot, I guess, that's the stick. The carrot is that HIPAA compliance opens up business opportunities, as Charles was discussing, where maybe without compliance you don't even have a shot at a deal. Compliance will open up those opportunities. So the chain of trust is a concept in HIPAA that Charles touched on a little bit. The headwater of that is the covered entity, and that would be a psychotherapist, a medical practitioner, physician, hospital, even a physical therapist, the individual and/or organization that is actually delivering services getting diagnoses, and those sorts of really key information about the individual. And then the business associate is everything downstream from that. So it could be everything from an after-hours call center that supports the covered entity. It could be an after-hours cleaning service that comes in and cleans the building for the after-hours call service that supports the covered entity. So everyone down that chain needs to be HIPAA compliant in order for the entire chain to be compliant. And if something happens at some point within that, a tornado hits a building and medical records get scattered all over 20 acres, or there's a complaint that's registered with the HHS because a patient feels their information is being violated by the practitioner or whatever, then when the audit takes place, the auditor's looking up and down the chain to make sure that that entire chain of trust is compliant. And so that's why sometimes even when nothing's going wrong at the business associate end, there's still an audit because something went wrong up higher up in the chain. But key note is everyone in the chain has to be compliant in order for the chain to be that way. Oops, sorry. So a question is, what is full compliance? And one term that's important to understand is compliance versus certification. Certification deals with individuals. So individuals can be certified as being aware, HIPAA aware. Individuals can be certified in HIPAA security. It's the organization itself that falls under the compliance term. So individuals are certified, but there's more to that within the organization to be compliant. One question, very initial question in compliance, is what is the organization's actual exposure to PHI or electronic PHI? Certain organizations would only fall under the need for certification, and that would be someone like an on-site workstation break fix. If you call the IT guy, he comes in or she comes in, they work on the computer on-site, they don't bring any data in, they don't take any data out, they don't have any visibility to the data from off-site, they're only working on-site and they're accompanied when they're there, then those people only need to be certified in HIPAA awareness. They don't need full compliance because they're not really ever responsible for any PHI or electronic PHI. That's probably, especially with this audience, a very small fraction. Most organizations are going to fall under the right-hand side, which is either they have unaccompanied on-site or off-site exposure to PHI. And that would be anything from remote troubleshooting to an after-hours call center, as we mentioned, to a cleaning service that comes in and cleans the call center that supports the covered entity. So what is full compliance? Well, there's 6 steps, and when we look, like, for instance, at Charles's presentation, the 6 steps, he's like, wow, Zultys did a lot of work, and they did, in fact, but the actual HIPAA compliance, we provide a checklist that walks the organization through the process of implementing this to try to make that as easy, painless, straightforward, step-by-step as possible. There are 6 steps to compliance. Number 1, a compliance officer needs to be assigned, and that's, in almost all cases, not a full-time job. But it is the point of contact for all things HIPAA. So to make sure that everyone is, in fact, trained and certified, to make sure that all the documents that are necessary are in place and so forth, that's the role of the compliance officer. And the second step, then, is to train all the staff in HIPAA awareness. So everyone on staff, from front of the house to back of the house, anyone that could even possibly get exposed to PHI, EPHI, is trained in HIPAA awareness and certified. Our certifications go for 2 years with the awareness, by the way. Then the third step is implementing the privacy policies and procedures. And again, we provide a upfront video that trains the user in how to implement the documents and provide the actual policy and procedure templates that we know are required by HIPAA. And so there's a framework there that the consumer of our products is using, and you're always within that framework, so you always know what the next step is because we're laying all that out for you. Then the next step, the fourth step, is to train the compliance officer in HIPAA security. And that might also be a selected IT or infrastructure type role, or maybe a backup to the compliance officer. But it's, again, another course. It's a second certification that's required for the people that are really ensuring that the infrastructure is compliant with HIPAA and that the electronic PHI is secure. And then the fifth step is implementing the HIPAA security policies and procedures which reflect that. And it's exactly the same process that we use with the privacy documents we use with the security documents. And so they begin, again, as a set of templates. They're in Word format and are customized by the organization as they're implemented according to our checklist. And then the sixth step is just that each year the compliance officer needs to review the policies and procedures, review everyone's certifications, and make sure that everything's current. If there's been any changes in the business that might affect some of the policies and procedures, that they've been properly updated, and that goes on an annual basis. And that's what full compliance is with HIPAA. So the implementation of that and the process that Charles went through, and I believe a number of Zultys partners also have already gone through with us, is first of all kind of a two-tiered structure here. There's the training of the staff, which is everybody from the front of the house to the back of the house. It's just a 1.5-hour training. It results in a 2-year certification in HIPAA awareness. Usually in most of the cases, I think with Zultys and the Zultys partners, it would be HIPAA awareness for business associates. And then the compliance team, which is the compliance officer, and if there's a backup or an IT person that's also involved with the process, would receive training first in HIPAA awareness and then in HIPAA security. And those are 2 courses then, each are an hour and a half, and each result in a 2-year certificate. And then followed by the implementation of the privacy and security documentation, which estimated about 20 hours per kit for that compliance team. So this is just kind of a restatement of that last slide. HIPAA awareness for business associates provides comprehensive HIPAA knowledge. The audience is all staff and contractors as well. It's an hour and a half. There are no prerequisites to the course, and it's a 2-year certification. HIPAA security is a detailed coverage of HIPAA security. So those 3 areas that Charles discussed, the physical security, technical security, and administrative security, are the 3 areas that HIPAA security addresses. The target for that training and the implementation of the kits is the compliance team, and the only prerequisite for that course is to have had the HIPAA awareness training. And then it also results in a 2-year certification. So the policy and procedure kits, this is in parallel or a separate stream, if you will, of thought from the training. So there's a training stream that everyone's going through, security training for the compliance officer, and then the implementation of the policy and procedure kits. These are pre-built documentation kits that specifically mapped to what HIPAA requires in the environment. And the privacy kit for business associates covers, obviously, HIPAA privacy. It takes about 20 hours of the compliance officer's effort to get implemented. And there's a video that we put up front. Our founder has literally done thousands of these implementations, and after 10 or 12 years, recorded the process so that it's consistent and uniform across our customer base. And so that's what the Jumpstart video is. It's about 45 minutes. They're a little different. I think one's 40 and one's 50. And then the security documentation kit, very similar, covers HIPAA security. The implementation's about 20 hours again. And again, there's a separate pre-recorded Jumpstart just for the security implementation as well. So it's just a quick background on digital compliance. We definitely have broad and deep expertise in HIPAA with over 18 years of experience, thousands and thousands of implementations in every state of the USA as well as internationally. The training that we offer is user-friendly. It's easy to understand. It's all online. It can be entered and exited and re-entered as many times as necessary to complete. So they don't have to the users don't have to sit down for a solid hour and a half. They could do a half hour, however they want to do it. There's no contracts, no minimums, no hidden costs. The price is the price. There's no membership fees, no yearly fees, nothing like that. We really aim to minimize the administration. These training systems that we offer are almost self-managing. There's a very thin layer of administration. The training can be rolled out in about 5 minutes. There's no password or user ID administration required. And nothing has to get set up like that. There's just the account's set up one time, and then it can be shared by everyone in the organization. We also offer dedicated support by phone and email Monday through Friday. We're happy to talk to you about any of your compliance questions or any questions about the course, administration of the course, purchase and use of the course. We're happy to talk to you whether you're a customer or not. We're I would say borderline fanatical about the customer support that we offer and making sure that all of our customers are happy and successful in their HIPAA compliance requirements. So just a ballpark figure so you get some idea of the pricing. The documentation kits are $500 a piece. So that's $1,000 for the documentation kits. And the training for 10 people receives one level of discount when there's 10 or more. There's multiple levels of discount, and I'd be glad to discuss that with anyone in more detail. But at 10, the price for each awareness training is $24.99 or about $25. So 10 of those is $250, and that brings us to $1,250. And then the security course is $20. And so one instance of the security course is included in this. Again, just an example cost of $1,270 for compliance. And again, it's a fast, easy path to HIPAA compliance. It's about an hour and a half training per staff member and 20 hours per kit to implement the compliance documentation. And this is how to contact us. I can be reached directly at that email address, and the sales@digitalcompliance.com is just our general inbox. You can always send any questions there. As I said, we're very responsive by phone or email 5 days a week. And to our phone and hours.